Sonic. Alright, hello everybody. My name is PV, and today we're doing a game journal on the video game Sonic Heroes. It came out 2003 for the PlayStation 2. Apologies for the kind of weird resolution. I'm not really sure what happened with that, but oh well. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and skip through a bit of this little segment here because this game for some reason has an issue with loading properly. Just the actual... Yeah, memory cards just take a while to load on this game. I think it's because my memory cards in the PS2 are almost full, so it just takes a lot longer than it should. But anyways, this game I think is actually pretty underrated. I wouldn't say I'm the biggest Sonic fan in the world, but this was a game that I actually didn't play all that much as a kid, but I've recently gotten back into and really enjoying. And I'm going to show you one of the examples of an opening cutscene for the game really quick. There's 4 campaigns. You have to complete all 4. You play more or less the same levels, that just remixed slightly differently. And you'll see what I mean in a minute here. But I'm just going to talk over this cutscene just because it's not really too important. But I just wanted to show that all of them follow a very similar formula. They start with a very, for the time, expensive CGI opening cutscene that establishes the characters. Each team is made up of 3 different characters. And they all have their own goals, aspirations. Some of them are new, most of them are returning. And yeah, pretty much. And then you kind of get the gist of it here. And yeah, but here we go. So each team is made up of 3 characters, like I said. You have your speed type, your power type, and your flying type. And we pretty much are forced to use all of them at once. And yeah, I'm going to let this play out real quick before. And yeah, right here we're starting with Team Dark. This is the second team that comes up when you start the game itself. And each team, as I'll go into in a little bit, I'll go into more detail with them later, but each team has a different quote-unquote playstyle. You play the same each way. Each team has the same moves, more or less. They might have slightly different animations, but they all do the same effects. They have the same moves. You have, everybody has an X button move, a square button move, that kind of thing. And yeah, it plays pretty much like most Sonic games, assuming you've played most of those. But yeah, I mean, mostly it's just get to the end of the course as fast as you can, but sometimes there's a bit of a change to it here. But as you can see here, your speed type character has a homing attack. They run fast, of course. They're usually the leader character of the group. And yeah, they also are used mostly just for the actual speed segments of the game. And yeah, like you can see there, they have a little homing attack. The flight character has the ability to do double jumps and attack air enemies. And the power enemy has the ability to destroy objects in the way, and also they just do more damage. They usually take out most enemies in a single hit. There's also boss fights in this game, just real quick before I forget, but I'm not going to go into any of those in the footage we see here just because I don't want to take too much time going into that. But yeah, and then as you can see at the top right corner right here, you have a little button for Team Blast, which is just once you build up enough energy after defeating multiple enemies, you perform a little move like this. And you pretty much just defeat everything. And yeah, I apologize if this seems like a lot, but going on, and I'm not going to explain everything in detail. But yeah, something I think is really cool about this game mode is, strangely enough, even though you're mostly playing the same missions again and again, and like I said, the actual layouts, like these little stone tablets here, the enemy layouts, changes with each one. And some more so than others. But going into each team, there are 4 of them. There is Team Sonic, there's Team Dark, there is Team Rose, and then we have Team Chaostix. And all of them, like I said, more or less, except for Team Chaostix, are all existing characters. But yeah, so Team Sonic, as you'll see later, is made up of, obviously Sonic, Knuckles, Tails, and they're more about the speed type. They're more about getting through missions as fast as possible. And, your grading at the end of each mission is based mostly on that. Then Team Dark here is more of a difficulty. They're based more on, very similar to Sonic. It is based on speed, but it's also based on precision, how many times you got hit, how many coins you got, how many enemies you killed, that kind of thing. And they're personally my favorite to play. Also, just as silly as it is, I personally like the characters the most. I know that they're very edgy, but I always think that they're a weird, wacky little group of anti-hero dudes. But yeah, and then And yeah, as I said too, as you can see here, it's made up of Shadow, the Hedgehog, the black and red one. The robot black and red one is Omega, just an android, and then Rouge the Bat is just a generic thief lady, pretty much. And then later you'll see Team Rose is made up of Amy, I guess the Hedgehog, who's the speed type of her group. Then you have Charmy the Bee, who's their flying type. Or sorry, no, I actually forget the Team Rose. They're probably my least favorite one. But their Team Rose, though, is actually... It kind of goes in... It's not something that we talked about in this segment of the Game Studies class, but I do think it's important. It actually kind of goes into a little bit of the sexism angle of games where, well, obviously they're the girl group, because they're made up of, the pink character, the little girl insert character with, the cute little plush character who helps her fly, and then, Big the cat, who's just so lovable and a little slow, and it's just, it feels very condescending. I mean, and obviously those characters, that group of characters are the least, I guess, adept for combat, as it were, out of all three groups, so it makes sense, but they are very hand-holdy. In fact, their first mission isn't really a guided, here's what to expect from the game kind of mission like this one is. They are a full-out tutorial, and it's just, I don't get footage of it, but it's very hand-holdy. The characters go through, and the game will literally stop you from moving to tell you exactly what you need to do to get through each segment, and it can be frustrating at times, honestly, but... Yeah, and then we have Team Chaostix, which I'm going to be showing next, so I'll wait until I get to them to show off what we're doing here. But I think something that another thing I really like about this game is the amount of just fun set pieces that it has here. And the PS2 is trying its dangdest to get those draw distances in time before the enemies show up. But it's just very charming, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, and I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead here to the end of this mission just so we can see. And yeah, you see here, you get to the goal point, and then you complete the mission. And this awkward little silent animation plays out. Just wait for it. And... I always just found that pretty humorous, at least to me, but... Yeah, now let's go to the next section. I think I actually... Here, we'll skip ahead a bit. And yeah, right here, as you can see, going into Team Chaostix. This is also the first mission, so you'll see the same environment, but I'm actually going to be skipping. I already skipped actually the opening cutscene for it, so it's just going to go, or the CGI, extravagant intro cutscene. It's going to go into theirs. But something that I think is really fun about Team Chaostix is that they are a group of basically, I guess, bounty hunters, detectives. And yeah, they've got, like you saw, their Charmy the Bees, their flying type. I actually forget the alligator's name here. He's their power type, though. And then SBO, I don't even know what he is. I guess a chameleon. But their missions are actually not based on combat. It's not based off of, quote-unquote, being easy. And it's not based off of speed, either. It's actually based almost entirely off of collecting and just mini-missions. They're a lot slower, and they go more into... exploration of the environments, as you can probably tell, and I'm gonna go ahead and skip ahead just a little bit so you can see more. But the sound design of this game is just top notch. And if you look right here, right there, what I just got, a little hermit crab. And the goal of this mission is to go around, find 10 hermit crabs around the stage. Most of the missions with Team Chaostix are this kind of objective. It's just find this item, more or less. And yeah, it's nothing really too difficult, but I always found it interesting how this game really allowed you to go through a lot of different playthroughs. And when you get to certain segments, it's going to be very similar, obviously. You get to the running segments here, as you can see, and it's the same thing. Each character more or less has the exact same moves. But I don't know, there's something fun about it. Even if it is, a lot of it is, what's the word? I guess just... I can't think of the word off the top of my head, but a lot of it is just superficial. Yeah, that's the word. Superficial external changes that don't actually change how the game is played. It's just how the game looks like with the characters. But it's something about it just still really works for me, and I always find it very fun. And yeah, let me go ahead. Let's move ahead here. I'm going to... Oh, here we actually have a bonus mission here, which I'll just show, plays the exact same for each character. There's no differences between any of them. And yeah, I mean, it's just a little something fun you can do in the game. I don't really have much to comment on besides, if you have epilepsy of any kind, obviously, I hope you're not watching this. It's confusing to me, and I don't have it, so. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and skip ahead of this just so we can get to the next segment. And let me see, give me one moment. Okay, and this moment here, actually, we are going to be playing as Team Rose. I'm not gonna show you guys the whole thing, but yeah, I mean, just right here, as you can see, the same gameplay the whole way through. And yeah, they do have mostly superficial changes, but they also change out little details of the environment. You're going to have the same aesthetic each time you play. You're going to have more or less, with the exception of Team Chaostix, the same objective. It's just get to the end of the stage, you know. How you get there, how long it takes you to get there, the type of, proficiency that you show while doing it will all change. Your rating, which, I mean, the rating, you could argue, isn't even a necessary component of the game. For a lot of people, it's just, well, I beat the game, so I'm happy. You know, they don't care if they get, like, something like an S rank or an F rank or E rank. Like, they don't care, as long as they get to the end. And I think that's what's really interesting about these games. And, I've said it back on my very first game journal. And I do have this love for games that are easy to play, but hard to master. I just think it's the perfect level of design or just a perfect thesis for game design, to me at least, for my personal tastes. I know not everybody agrees with that, but I just have always found it really fun. There's me actually dying, so we're just going to go ahead and go to Team Sonic. I'm going to kind of skip through this one, but this is a really cool set piece stage that I particularly wanted to keep in mind. Just because this stage in particular feels very much designed for this group of characters. Like I said, very set piece heavy, but just really fun. And but to get to my main point, as I'm talking about this, I'm going to go over kind of the Stewart article, which is the main, I guess, point of this game journal that I'm doing. Is I wanted to kind of touch on the different playstyles and how I think it's not perfect, but it matches actually pretty well. And I had already planned when I was playing this game again recently. I was like, you know what, I really want to do Sonic Heroes because I've been playing it with my girlfriend, and I was like, this would be a really interesting game to talk about for my game studies class. But in particular, it was when I got to the Stewart article that I was like, oh, this is perfect. And like I said, it's not exact, but it's very close. I mean, you look at something like the Killer Artisan, which is acting on players in external change. I always felt like the killer kind of aspect reflected off of, right here, Team Sonic. It's just, well, I mostly just want to have, I mean, obviously, once again, it's not a multiplayer game, so it doesn't work exactly well. But I think that in a lot of ways it kind of translates pretty well over. And I think, yeah, players acting on players would be Team Sonic. It's all about just, being cool, interacting with the game itself. Most people in their first playthrough are going to play Team Sonic, which is why I find it a little interesting that they decided to use Team Rose as the tutorial people. And it's not like you can just play one campaign and you're done. The way they intended was you don't get to play the final boss fight and section of the game as Team Sonic until you've beaten all the other campaigns with the other characters. So it's not like they said, oh, you can just play one and be done. They intended you to play all of them, but I don't know who in the world would want to start a Sonic game not playing as Sonic. And I mean, it's up to the player's choice with who they want to play as. I find it very peculiar, I guess, that they decided to go with that decision. But yeah, and going to the Achiever player type, I mean, that just fits right perfectly with Team Dark. I mean, it's literally a team mode, or a team whose entire gameplay purpose is to be, well, they're a more difficult version of Team Sonic. I can't think of anything better than that. Yeah, there's my team almost dying, or my teammates dying and me not. But and then Explorer, I mean, that's pretty obvious. I think that moves in pretty well with, the Team Chaostix, where they're literally are about, hey, you've played through these missions plenty of times before as Sonic, Shadow, and Rose. Hey, how about you just slow it down? Really get to appreciate the levels. Honestly, I feel like they are, even though Team Rose is all about being the tutorial people, I feel like Team Chaostix is better because it's just get a feel for the levels as it is, Obviously, Team Sonic's levels are the most well-designed. I personally find Team Dark's levels to be a little bit more entertainingly designed. But I think the best ones to play for your first playthrough is definitely Team Sonic. But that's besides the point. And then the final one, the Socializer, I think it's not, once again, like I said, it's not perfect, but it matches, I think, pretty well with Team Rose, where it's more about people who want to, I want to play this game and just have fun because I think Sonic is fun. Like, you probably, I wouldn't say you play Team Rose for the story. I guess it's mostly just, I find them cute or whatever, but yeah, I mean, I just think it's interesting that, when I was deciding to do this game journal, the Stewart article just perfectly aligned with that. And yeah, I mean, that's another thing too I really like, and I've also been talking about this too, something I really like with games is when developers and designers give the players agency and choice, freedom and choice, and what they want to do. And I'm just going to skip through here to get a little closer to the end of the level. But oops, I'm going to go back a bit just so we can actually see a little bit more of it. But I really like that, and I find that really fun with this game, and I think that this game does a really good job with giving the player agency. It's not perfect, because like I said, you're pretty much railroaded, pun not intended, into playing the same way throughout the whole game, more or less, with each different character, or with each different campaign and team. But the fact that the game goes, no, you can play them in any order you want. Like, as far as the story goes, yeah, you're going to play the last campaign as Sonic. As far as the story goes, hey, this is the events that's going to happen, you're going to fight these characters on these levels. But outside of that, the game pretty much lets you do whatever you want, and I find that to be so fun. I don't know. It's just really endearing, and you can play them in any order you want. Like, yeah, sure, you can play Sonic first, and most people are going to play Sonic first, but hey, if you have no idea how to play, you can play Team Rose first. Or if you don't care, you just want to have fun and, say, screw it, I want to try the hardest challenge ever, you can go with Team Dark. And that's what I think is so cool about it, man. Like, I don't know, but yeah, and this is another blast from the past. I don't have anything exceptionally deep to say about this game, outside of just noting those similarities I saw with that Stewart article we read. And yeah, I think it's a little old, and I won't get into it, but I do find it interesting that the Sonic community, I want to just dip my tiny toe in the subject, but we've already gone over it, but the Sonic online community is very, let's just say, odd, and I think it's interesting that we were talking too, as well as about the whole thing of do video games create violence or anger in people? And I said in my discussion post, I don't think they do. I do think that people can have an aggression problem, and I remember being mad at this game because it's a finicky PS2 game, man. Like, if you do one thing wrong, the game, it's not very forgiving, and it can be frustrating, and it can ruin your day, man. If you're about to get to the end of a mission and mess up, or even just an improper input error. For example, when you for most games, when you pause the menu, you press the start button, or pause button, whatever, in the PS2. I think it's the start button. You press the start button to bring up the pause menu. You would then press the start button again to leave the pause menu. However, with this game, the only way to select an option in the pause menu is to press pause, start again. There's many times where I accidentally moved my cursor down to quit without saving near the end of a difficult level as a kid, and I would quit out, lose all my progress, and I would freak out as a little 8-year-old. I was pissed. I lost all that progress. I didn't get violent, but I got angry, man, Or if I did get violent, I would be like, ugh, and I'd like, little angry me who got bullied in middle school would want to, punch my bed or whatever, but I would never hurt a person, And then you get over it, and maybe I'm countering my own argument there by saying that, I would get violent with my mattress. But I guess that's pretty much all I really had to say about that. But I just think it's very odd, though, that the Sonic community online has become kind of, or not as much anymore, but they became kind of infamous for a while for having very unique and infamous online personalities who were associated with it. The very infamous Sonic Chew is one example. I do not recommend looking up anything about this person, and I don't mean this in a mean way, but just that person is a very famous online personality, very similar to the Buy article we read, where, not very similar, but tangentially related. It's kind of subject, where it's a person who is just a well-known figure online that almost nobody actually knows personally, and it's a very it's just an interesting anomaly in human culture. And I'm just going to let this little opening game FMV play out here real quick before I let you guys go. But yeah, I just wanted to thank you guys for watching too. And yeah, very odd, but I'm using a PS2 early 2000s Sonic game as an example of giving players good agency. As you saw earlier too, when you're going through these levels, I never got to mention this while we were watching the footage, but another fun thing that this game does is it actually lets the player choose which paths they'd want to go on. Certain, teams do it more so than others, such as Team Dark and Team Sonic. They kind of give you more freedom in that kind of player choice, and especially Team Chaostix, just because it's so slow. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think player agency is a fun thing. I don't really think. What's the word? I don't really think it matches up perfectly, as it were, with the Stewart article we're reading about different types of players, especially because it's not. Ironically, even though you're playing as teams, it's not a co-op game. But it is interesting. I don't think the Sonic team did it on purpose when they were developing this game, but like I said, it's very interesting that it almost perfectly transitions from the 4 different player types. And even though there's technically, 12, I think. But anyways, as the FMV ends, thank you guys very much for watching. This has been Emery PV with Sonic Heroes on the PlayStation 2 from 2003. Thank you guys very much for watching, and have a wonderful day. Sonic.